The critical work that we do is more on the management of the corporate social investments for a variety of the funds of the corporates. As mentioned in my introduction here, within the mining sector and the finance sector. And we manage all these funds on behalf of the clients. And across all the sectors, education, health, and social development. And the critical role there is more on researching. So before you could even design that strategy, it needs to be informed. Once it's informed, we have some sort of baselines if there's a program that exists within the fund that has to inform the design of the program itself and the resources that are required for implementation. So the kind of work that we do, we don't do it because we want to generate knowledge only. We generate knowledge that is going to inform how we work, the investment that have to be distributed. And this actually informs people who are sitting behind the desk generating funds within the sector, in the finance and mining. They have no time to be interacting with schools. We do that work on their behalf. And that becomes very critical that we get informed work for them to be informed about how the social work works, because actually they are in the business sector and have vast interest in investing those resources. So they have to be invested very carefully. And the only way to do it carefully is to have information that enables you to get to design those programs and the kind of debate that goes around the table with the trustees who don't even have time to interact with the daily work that we do. So this was not done because we wanted to just entice what is out there, but it was done on behalf of the First National Bank Fund that is actually operating legally under the First One Foundation. For their education program, it's a huge fund with its own history. And their interest was to get a geographically contextualized program. So if you look at the history of the First One Foundation, they're operating across all the sectors. It's education, it's health, it's social development as well. They haven't, before this program, implemented any primary school-based program. And that they wanted something that is going to be geographically located. So they selected the KZN and the Free State. And in this regard, I'm actually taking you to this. This is what Zarina actually covered, what we're going to cover in this presentation, objectives, why we did it, our paradigm within the study, and Jennifer is there for your reference. She has been contracted. This is Kulisa's work in actually getting all the work together. The paradigm of the study, what is underpinning our beliefs in the school functionality, and why is it important that you do it, and how does it inform the way you work? Okay, the methodology is strengths and limitations, findings, recommendations. I like the support that I'm going to get from my colleagues here, because actually Philip Metula implements or actually manages the primary program, and then he can share some lessons of how we have utilized the findings into the program implementation. So the expectations that are actually talked about here will definitely be covered, and in the discussion you can actually elaborate some more. And the objectives of this was to determine the functionality of those 39 schools. So in the invitation you had about 40 schools. Of course, we went into KZN, worked with the district officials there, requiring their permission. You can't get into schools without that. Similarly, the permission within the schools, when you're working with the principals to get there. Our initial selection was 40 schools, 20 per provinces, 10 in each of those districts. In the KZN, one among the 20 schools was a specialized, so it was a school for learners with special needs. And you know how totally different they are from all the mainstream schools, and that was excluded. No one would remain under 39 schools. Okay? And the intention of this program of this assessment was to propose appropriate interventions aligned to types of school functionality and identify how mainstreaming is effectively implemented in the schools. So when you just look at this background, we want to use this information particularly for this, okay? And going into the underlying paradigm of why school functionality. The key argument within the school functionality is that schools, depending on their functionality or their environment, they can become barriers or enablers to to external development interventions. Development interventions coming from external stakeholders are actually constrained by different things. So it's time, it's resources. I have 2 rands, but I want to change the system. Is that realistic? And who should I be working with? And additionally, it also argues that if a type of a school functionality is matched with appropriate intervention, your likelihood of achieving results are actually high. So I know I have my 2 rands and I'm working with this particular school. What are its needs? And what can my 2 rands actually achieve? So this alignment makes it even more easier for you to gauge the expectations that you promise our funders and say, if you give me 4 million rands, the results are going to improve by 25% in next year. Are we really realistic in that? So it helps us to gauge the expectations as we present and engaging with our trustees and informing the design of the program as a whole.